Let me introduce, we'll get going and then we'll have everyone introduce themselves just to make sure it's all in there. So this is the November 16th, 2022 meeting of Albany Board of Review. We're going to first start the meeting with a public hearing and then we're going to go into hearing the petitioners. So why don't we go around the room? Currently, the hearing is being held at the New York State Department of State 1 Commerce Plaza on 99 Washington Ave. We're in the conference room 505 in Albany, New York. It's also being held via video conference. So let's go around the room. My name's Dave Abram. I'm the chairman, going to be running the meeting today. Let's start with you, Andy.
Andy Ellis.
Laura Ryder.
Jared Behringer.
Jackie Coons.
And we also have the petitioner in the room with us as well. We'll come back around to you. Why don't you state your name for now, and then we'll come back.
Ronald Ducharme.
Perfect. Were you able to hear all that?
Yes, but I would like to get the spelling of all the names too, please, just for clarity of the record, if people could spell their names.
Why don't we do that afterwards? Let's get through this public hearing first, and then we'll get the spelling of everyone's when we start the petition meeting. So because we just got to get through first formality of this public hearing, and then we'll get back around to that. So if everyone can hear us okay, we'll get right into the public hearing. The time is now 9:04 a.m. and it is November 16th, 2022. And we're going to get through kind of the formal of this hearing, take a vote, and then we'll move on. So this is a public hearing conducted by New York State Department of State Albany Regional Board Review pursuant to Section 103-A of the Public Officers Law for the purposes of receiving public comment on the proposed adoption by the Board of Review of a resolution, 1, authorizing the use of video conferencing, and 2, establishing written procedures governing member and public attendance for meetings of the Board of Review and meetings of any and all committees or subcommittees of the Board of Review now existing or hereafter established. As the chairperson of the Board of Review, I will serve as the presiding officer for today's hearing. Section 103-A of the Public Officers Law authorizes a public body to allow its members to participate in a meeting remotely under extraordinary circumstances at locations that do not allow for in-person physical attendance by the public, provided that such public body adopts a resolution authorizing such remote attendance and establishes written procedures governing member and public attendance consistent with Section 103-A of the Public Officers Law. If adopted, the proposed resolution would, 1, authorize the Board of Review and any and all committees or subcommittees of the Board of Review now existing or hereafter established to use video conferencing to conduct meetings in the manner contemplated by Section 103-A of the Public Officers Law, i.e. meetings where a member who is unable to be physically present at any such meeting location due to extraordinary circumstances is permitted to attend and participate in the meeting by video conferencing from a remote location that is not open to the public, and 2, establish written procedures governing member and public attendance for such meetings. The proposed resolution would also confirm that the Board of Review continues to authorize the Board of Review and any and all committees or subcommittees of the Board of Review now existing or hereafter established to use video conferencing to conduct meetings where each member wishing to attend and participate in such meeting is physically present at such meeting at a location where the public can attend. Notice of the public hearing for this proposed resolution and written procedures was posted on the Department of State's website on October 20th, 2022. All persons wishing to present comments at today's hearing should sign the registration sheet or message the host of the WebEx meeting. Speakers will be called out in order which they appear on the registration sheet and receive message on the WebEx. And then all persons wishing to present comments will also be asked to complete and sign a notice of appearance. At this time, are there any persons present that would like to make comments in this hearing? Great. Let the record reflect that there is no response to that. I don't see any comments on WebEx either. And we don't have anyone present in the room at this time. So at this time, we're going to take a vote from the board. Is there a motion from the board?
I'll make a motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Great. So I'm going to poll the board. Those in favor say yay, and those in opposed say nay. We'll start at the end. Mr. Ellis?
Yay.
Ms. Ryder?
Yay.
Ms. Behringer?
Yay.
Ms. Coons?
Yay.
I also say yay. So that's 5 yeas, 0 nays, and we have now accepted the motion. And that concludes the hearing at this time. Great, so that concludes the public hearing. We'll move on to the scheduled petitions.
Do we need to do first spelling?
I'm sorry?
She'll need our spelling.
Oh, yeah, we'll go around the spelling. So, yeah, we're going to go around. We're going to start, we'll give our spelling of our names, and then we'll get into the set petitions for the day. So why don't we start at the end?
Andy Ellis, ANDYELLIS.
Laura Ryder, LAURARYDER.
And I'm David Abramo, DAVID, ABRAMO.
Jared Behringer, JARED, BARRINGER.
Jackie Coons, JACKIECOONS.
From the
Then we'll
Department
get
of
back-
State,
Go ahead.
sorry, Mr. Chairman, from the Department of State is Daniel Farley, which is DANIEL FARRELLY.
Is there anyone else online that would like to state their name for the record, please? Great. And then when we get to the petitions, we'll have you also state your name repeated for the record as well. So I think we are ready. We'll get right into the case. Unless anyone else has any questions or comments before we do that. Great. So I apologize the way the room's set up right now, but it's not very conducive to talk, but we'll kind of face you at the same time as we're facing the video. So we're taking everything for record. So today we have only a single petitioner. Please, when you do speak, make sure that we're speaking clearly, and we're going to make sure you do give your name and your title to get that in the recording. We may have to stop time to time to consult with our technical staff. Just bear with us a little bit as we get through this. And then also, when you do make comments to the board, just so we have it for record, give any descriptive narrative you have that whatever you're presenting on, then make sure that we understand what we're talking about and that everything's in record. So the first petition now is the matter of petition number 2022-0519. The petitioner is the owner of the Clinton Street Pub. Just give me 1 second. Let me pull up so I can get this in here right. So the building that is the topic of the petition is Clinton Street Pub, located at 159 Clinton Street in Schenectady, New York, 12305. The petitioner is seeking relief from the requirements of Chapter 61-B of the Consolidated Laws of New York, Multiple Residence Law, Article 3, Section 30, cellar ceilings, that states that in every such dwelling 3 stories or more in height, the ceiling of the cellar or of the lowest story, if there be no cellar, shall be fire retarded or be equipped with a sprinkler system, unless such ceiling has already been plastered to the satisfaction of the department. So the petitioner is requesting leave to install fire retardant ceilings or sprinkler system in the cellar of the dwelling. So at this time, let's open it up for the discussion with the petitioner. Again, let's start with stating your name and your title, and then you can explain your case to the board and the reason for your request.
My name is Ronald Ducharme. I own the building downtown Schenectady. It's a 3-story brick building. It's approximately 130 years old. It's original. I'm not really clear on all what the requirements are, although I go through a inspection by the Schenectady Code Office every year and I have no problems. We don't have a interconnected fire alarm system, but we have the alarms on every floor, including the basement. It's from some of the information I've looked at. It's impossible for me to completely enclose the basement as it is because of the old plumbing, the wiring, and I'm asking for what I understand is a variance so that I can have an interconnected system, all right, a Wi-Fi interconnected system so that it will work through the basement, the first floor, second floor, and third floor. I don't really understand a lot about it. However, I've talked to some folks in Schenectady that have gotten the variances from your department. I don't get much from the city itself because they won't make a decision unless I have to go unless I go through the folks. All right, so basically that's it. All right, it's an old building. It's inspected 4 years ago. We were inspected and we were fine, except they told us that we had to have a wired-in smoke detector carbon system on the second floor and the third floor, which I didn't realize that it had to be interconnected, so I spent the money to have that done. All right, and assuming that was okay. Last year at the inspection, they said that was incorrect, but it cost me thousands of dollars to have the electrician come in and do it. All right, now they tell me that it has to be a total interconnected system. And I'm asking for the variance I'm asking for is to be able to do a Wi-Fi as the most economical way.
Understood.
It's an old building and it has a lot of good structure to it. Don't really like it has ceilings and such. It has, and I think this would be the best way of going without going through a lot of damage to the structure itself.
Okay. Do you mind for the court reporter just spelling your last name?
Yeah, Ducharme, D-U-C-H-A-R-M-E.
Okay. So at this time, let's open up for questions and comments from the board. We're just going to have a discussion, get an understanding of the building and the position that you're in, understanding what's been installed and what hasn't, and then
Yes.
we'll kind of proceed from there.
I'll start. This is Laura Ryder speaking. So just to clarify for myself, you said each apartment has a smoke detector in it or a smoke detector system?
Yes, all the bedrooms, everything that is required, yes.
Okay, but there's nothing that connects across floors? Each unit is contained?
From floor to floor.
Right.
Right now, no, there isn't.
Okay.
No. Yes.
Is there any kind of smoke detection in the bar itself?
Yes.
And
They're not wired in, it's all
battery operated?
battery op,
Okay.
yes.
And the same in the basement
Yes.
currently? Okay.
Right.
All right.
Well, from what I understand is I've sent photographs of what the basement looks like, in the basement floor and the ceiling and the wiring and stuff. It would be totally impossible to, if you look at the photographs, to be able to enclose all of that.
Right.
You wouldn't be able to get into the basement itself.
Yes. And from the hand-drawn floor plans that you provided us,
Yes.
just trying to imagine myself in the building. So you walk in the front door,
Yes,
and then there's two other doors. One door goes to the stair up,
yes, one goes to, yes,
and one door goes into the bar.
yes.
Okay, and
Yes.
so is there any kind of a smoke detector in that lobby area or
Yes,
vestibule?
yes.
Okay, but
Everything
again,
that-
it's not attached to anything else, right?
No.
Standalone, okay. And are there, is there, is there anything in the stairwell itself, or is it only in the apartments?
It's in the basement itself. It's not in the stairway, but it's in the apartments, all right?
Okay.
They are wired in, connected, but they're not interconnected on the second and third floors, but they are wired in because that's how I was supposed to have it done, what I was initially told.
Yes.
They didn't tell me they had to be interconnected from one floor to the other.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
So the proposed system would be in addition to the wired system that you have currently?
Well, I don't think the wired system, I'd have to have electrician, interconnected somehow, and that would have to completely, be connected to the rest of the building itself. So my proposal is that even though those work, is to have a, Wi-Fi system, all right, so that I can have, it would work better from the Wi-Fi, so it would work throughout the building itself, one system itself.
This is Jared Behringer, and that system will be throughout the hallway, interconnected throughout the hallway, all the way through the bar, through the
Yes, exactly, yes, throughout the whole building.
And then,
I don't know, and right now the city of Schenectady is unclear what to do and how I'm supposed to go through it, and that's why I'm meeting with you folks.
Right.
And they won't give me a clear-cut answer on anything.
and the apartment doors that go through the hallway and through the bar, are those self-closing doors?
For the bar it is, but not for the apartments on the second and third floor, yes. Self-closing for the bar, for the entrance, yes. But I understand now that that's another thing that I didn't realize, that are the apartment doors. It's only, the second floor is just one apartment, all right? And the third floor has one apartment, it's cut up into two apartments. However, there's only one that's being used. The other one I use for storage. It's not so I only have, as far as a rental tenant, I only have one that's rented into the building. The rest, so it's not
Is that the bigger one or the smaller one you're using?
the one on the big one, all right. The one on the second floor, that's what I use for office, my storage, things of that sort, all right. And on the third floor, there's a small apartment on the third floor, which I have one person living in there.
The apartments, it's this single staircase is the main egress, is there secondary egress?
Yes.
Okay.
Right, according to your plans, there's a fire escape
Yes, there is.
at the rear?
Yes.
Okay. So if I'm looking at this right, the plan, it looks like there's 2 units on the third floor.
Yes.
Okay, but, so you're saying, but the fire escape is only available to the person in the rear unit?
No, there's access. There's access throughout that third floor
Okay,
for the fire escape.
gotcha.
Oh.
So that bathroom is shared by the 2 apartments on the third floor?
Yeah, that's why I don't rent the other one. It was at one time, so.
Okay. I see.
But that's still considered common area up there until you enter the door to the bigger apartment?
Yes.
Like their key works on that door, not to the actual third floor, right?
The key to,
Like for access to the third floor apartment renter.
they don't have key to the door, but if you're going into the building itself, their key works for the access for the stairway. Yes. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out the limits of their rental unit. So that's common space up there on the third floor around the bathroom.
Yes. Mhm.
So that, the main living quarters for that apartment is in the front of the building, they'd still have to pass that landing to get to that fire escape?
Yes. Yes. And it's open.
Right, there's no door at the top of the landing.
No,
right?
there's no closure.
Right, so if a fire did get in the
Yes,
stair,
yeah, yes.
access to the fire escape would be.
It's like a hallway itself,
Possible,
just go
right.
through.
And does the second floor also have access to that rear fire escape?
No, the second floor has to go to either up the front, or it has to go up to the second and third floor to go out.
Okay, so it essentially only has one exit,
One-
they have to
one
get back
egress.
into that stairwell. Just to sort of get an idea of what kind of fire ratings you might have, are the walls around the stairwell the original plaster, are they sheetrock?
The one side, is going up the hallway, it's all, it's brick. And the other side is, the exterior, the outside door, the outside wall is brick.
Right.
And then plaster,
Okay.
yes. It's all brick and plaster.
But it looks, from the photos, it looks like all the ceilings are tin.
Yes.
Do you know if there's any plaster above that, or is it just tin right on the wood?
Tin attached to, how they attach it to wood, yeah.
Like lap?
The last.
Okay,
whatever they
so
call
no
it,
plaster.
across, yes.
And I think if, based on, we've heard similar cases here, I think that these wireless smoke detection systems actually do not run on Wi-Fi. I mean, you don't have to have Wi-Fi in your building. I think they're just wireless, they communicate with each other, right? So I think that was something that came up in one of our other meetings, right?
Correct.
So,
Yep.
you know, if there's
Yes.
no available Wi-Fi, they still
Yes,
work,
from what I looked
you know?
at, yes.
Okay,
Battery powered Wi-Fi.
As long as the connectivity of the device is still working,
yes.
Correct.
which was our concern the last time.
Yeah, I'll tell you how we kind of we've had a case similar to this, and we do ask for, we've required in the past a third-party inspector to be done and someone to come and inspect it annually, the system, to make sure the interconnectivity is still functioning, as well as making sure the batteries are still functioning in each unit.
Right, I understand.
So that would probably be something we're going to consider for this as well.
Right, I understand. But I want to know who does that. I mean,
We understood that there's actually,
I think that's fine.
we can provide a name to you that someone that's done them in the past.
Okay,
One person has done it, I guess, committed to it. There was some struggle finding somebody to do that, but we have found somebody
all right.
that we can provide a name to help you out.
I know, from the city, talking to the city, they mentioned that also.
Yeah.
The door to the basement goes directly into the bar? Or is that in that hallway as well?
No, it goes into the bar. I mean, you don't have access to the basement until you go into the bar.
Is there self-closure on that?
Yes. And we keep that locked. We usually try to lock it because we have our inventory down in there. So it's-
But if during open hours, if someone was to go down there, will close on its own? Or do they have to shut it themselves?
we shut it.
Just to be clear,
Yes.
are you leaving the existing system in and just adding this?
Well, I don't, it's on the second and third floor, and I really don't, I don't wanna pull it out of the ceilings again,
Okay.
all right, because we had to do a lot of work to put it back in. I mean, but I would just wanna, if I were to put the system in, I don't think it's gonna cost me a lot less than what it's cost me to connect those two systems itself.
Mhm.
Yeah, so, but I'm looking for relief that way. So, but I'm not gonna take them out.
Okay.
Which I think is appropriate, because, unfortunately, what you're dealing with is two separate codes. The New York
Yes.
State Building Code does require interconnectivity within an apartment.
Yes,
And the MRL, local residence law, is what requires, the fire rated ceiling. And this additional alarm system is in lieu of that. So, it's not spelled out anywhere, but it doesn't mean you can do away with what's required by the building code.
right,
So I think
yeah,
you need to keep your current
yeah,
systems, your apartments, and then this would be sort of an additional one, with a
Okay.
separate building alarm, if you will, which would be wireless.
Yeah, I agree. I think we would have to, in addition to it, because we want to make sure they're communicating throughout the building. The existing ones can function the way that they're currently wired to function, but this would be a whole separate system to notify everyone in that building that there's something going on in the basement or anywhere else in the building that people at the whole globally needs to react to.
Do you have it through your system? Do you have it through that you're using at storage on the third floor right now, or just in the apartment?
I'm doing what?
Do you have the interconnected system throughout that? You said it was a second apartment, but the studio, like you have listed as
Yes.
studio, it's in there as well?
Yes. I don't think there's any clear cut or clear information on this whole thing. Whoever you talk to, I get conflicted answers.
Right. I think, yes, I think we would have to spell out the requirements that you need to follow. I don't think I have any more questions about the building or the systems in the building at this time.
I don't either. Is there anyone else?
Do we want to deliberate?
Yeah, we do. I just want to make sure, is there a code enforcement official present on the call at all that invite you to offer any thoughts or comments at this time?
Yes, there is one.
Yeah, they might be called in.
No, what do you mean on this?
Yeah, on this, yeah,
No,
we
I-
understand that you had one involved with your case,
Yes.
but they have the opportunity to call in and make a
Oh, okay,
comment
right, yeah.
or present any other information they might have for us. We've had them in the past.
I'm actually working with Mary Lou Perdone.
Right, we saw
Okay.
her,
All right.
she sent in a form saying that she,
Okay.
is on board with this
Yeah.
variance.
Yeah. Okay, anybody else present on WebEx that would like to make comments before we go into deliberation? Great. So then at this time, we're going to go into deliberation. As we do that, we'll just I don't think anyone else is on the WebEx they have to be worried about. So then why don't we go off the record at this time?
Okay, we're off the record.
Thank you.